society than paying for people who are suffering in the status quo. I think the only mechanism coming from side opposition, the whole of the two speakers that we've heard, was that sympathy can change society for the better. We don't think that it's working in the status quo. We don't think it's going to work in any sort of paradigm. We're very proud to propose this motion in giving you a tangible alternative in which mechanism for change can be achieved. 2 points of clash. 1, in which side is tangible positive impacts more likely to occur in terms of economic status and social status. Secondly, under internalization and the issue of identity and how immigrant, and particularly immigrant children, view themselves. First point, under tangible positive impacts. As I said, the only characterization that they give was people sympathize, therefore people would vote in progressive politicians in their side of the house. A couple of reasons why that is not true. Firstly, I think when we see the status quo, there's a lot of coverage of things by UNICEF, where poor children in Africa are being seen as very suffering kids who are very innocent, but that has not had a huge impact on society. Why is that? I don't think, even when we do sympathize and feel like, oh, these poor people, I want to help them, it does not lead to you willing to use your own money to their benefits. I think most people in the middle class have their own issues of sending their kids to college, for example. I think they're usually more likely to want to spend money on those things that will benefit them, right? I think secondly, I think the characterization of the swing voters is particularly important. Our two previous speakers specifically told you that these are people who do not have strong ideologies, right? If you have a very strong ideology and is a social justice warrior, yeah, then obviously you're going to vote for progressives anyways. The problem is that most swing voters are very they can fall for liberal politicians, they can fall for conservative politicians. I think the reason why they're not fixed to one ideology is because they usually vote based on their own benefits. That's why our characteristic is very, very important. So, what happens on our side of the house? We didn't have a lot of engagement to our mechanism of how positive change is going to be achieved. When people recognize that, oh, these people are actually people who are contributing to society, these people are necessary in order for an economy to prosper, or that the existence of these people are actually benefiting me as a citizen, I think that is when progressive policies that protect the right of immigrants is more likely to happen. The alternative is the status quo, right? When right-wing populist politicians take the destruction of the media and say that, oh, we do recognize the problem, but the solution to the problem oftentimes is very, very harmful to the immigrants, right? Yeah. The solution is usually, let's get rid of the immigrants. That's why this narrative in the status quo is things like the Muslim ban that we see, or building a wall to keep out immigrants in the first place, because society don't want those problems, right? That is the best case scenario in which people do recognize the problems, and even if it is discussed, I think people are less likely to want immigrants to stay in comparison into our paradigm, where at least we accept them into society. We are more likely to provide basic necessities like education and so forth. I think populism is more likely to happen on their side of the house, but you seem to disagree. Yeah.
Now, tell me how idolizing a soccer player for their skills, for their personal character, for their charisma will motivate a voter to vote for their minority policy when they don't care about slums where the same minority lives in.
Yeah, we don't need them to care about slums. We don't need them to care about how they're being oppressed in the status quo. They talked about how problems are not going to be recognized. I think problems not going to be recognized is comparatively better. We don't have a problem with that because at least positive discrimination against these people is less likely to happen now, right? I think because people recognize that these people are causing problems, that's why they're more likely to attack them, right? If that disappears, I think there's going to be less barriers because there's going to be less prejudices against these communities. For example, in terms of employment, for example, the expectations that these people from particular communities are going to cause trouble within the corporation is less likely to happen, even in a paradigm in which the problem is not recognized. This is particularly important because their whole case stands upon the fact that the problem not being recognized, that is the worst case scenario. I think as so far as we contend to that, we already win today's debate. But secondly, and more importantly, on internalization. I don't think we got an adequate response until apart from the fact that the last speaker spoke on his personal experience and that being generalized into an argument somehow. We told you that identity is something that is very, very important, right? When you're constantly seeing mainstream media telling you that you will never succeed in your society, you will never be able to get a job, you will never be able to make political change, you will always have the gateway to drugs, and that is the community in which you're going to live for the rest of your life, that is going to impact how you perceive yourself within society. We already told you that in terms of like self-confidence or those kind of mental health issues, or those kind of things, this is very, very important. But secondly, we think it is very important to know that your expectation to what society should be able to provide for you is very different from what the paradigm inside opposition. This means that when you experience things like discrimination in a world in which you think that being discriminated against is the norm, and there is literally no counter-narrative to how people can be successful, I think you're less likely to feel that you have the right to speak out against discrimination. I think you're less likely to believe that you speaking out is going to have any impact on society. In comparison to that, when we have media just spreading out information and how successful your ethnicity can be, that is much more beneficial because you can feel that, oh, I have a chance as well, I'm going to try to achieve that particular goal. Things like when immigrant families look at AOC, for example, I think it is going to increase the amount of immigrants who would probably try to run to office. These are the tangible changes that can be given to that we think is very, very important. At the end of the day, the comparison is this. They tell you that sympathy is going to change everything. We gave you particular mechanisms as to why that is not true. We told you that even if you buy that argument, you need to contend to the fact that sympathy has not worked in the status quo. We gave you reasons why new mechanisms from our side of the house can give more social mobility to those people. Even if you don't buy that, we think internalization of victimhood being solved in and of itself is extremely important because the way you view yourself in society can have tremendous impact in your future actions. Very, very proud to propose